What's up guys, Jimmy here, and today I want to give you an unscripted video regarding my thoughts on the upcoming patch. Now, tomorrow there is going to be the official winter update thing. I'm going to be one of the official co-streamers for that event, so if you want to see my live reaction, just tune in at 6 p.m. CET. The event is going to go live, and I'm going to be streaming live on Twitch, so don't miss out. Where we can see the upcoming changes live together. But that being said, since I'm running out of time, I figured I'll give you guys a couple of my thoughts regarding the update, my expectations specifically as a Ryu player, and what I think Ryu should be getting or maybe not getting. So yeah, this is going to be just a couple of thoughts. Now, before we talk about the new balancing, let's talk about the new battle mechanic. Now, this is something that has been discussed a lot, and I think a lot of people agree. A new critical art for every character is the most likely thing Capcom is going to add. It's a low risk option for Capcom because it doesn't impact the balancing that much, and at this point, right at the end of the life cycle of a game, do you really want to introduce a major change when it comes to the gameplay portion that could potentially make the balancing a lot worse? I'm not quite sure if Capcom wants to do that, so I think a new critical art is just like an easy thing for them to add without having to deal with massive balancing issues. Now, that being said, I think it's the most boring option to add to the game. Obviously, as a competitive player, I would like to see something else. I would like to see the game play differently, but at the same time, as I said, I don't think Capcom wants to take a lot of risks. Unless, now here's an interesting thought, unless they want to try something for Street Fighter 6. We kind of had that with Street Fighter 4. Omega mode was introduced, I think, with Ultra Street Fighter 4. I'm not quite sure when exactly they added that, but pretty much at the end of the life cycle of Street Fighter 4. So that was added specifically to experiment with some ideas that ended up actually making it into Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 5 adopted a lot of ideas from Omega mode, so maybe something similar is going to happen here. Maybe we're going to have it as a separate mode. Having it as a separate mode is like the low risk option because you're not messing with the real game basically. But potentially they're going to add a mechanic that really fundamentally changes the gameplay. That is an idea that they're trying to, well, try to get right for Street Fighter 6. And honestly, this could actually happen. If you think about it, even though a new critical art would be a low-risk option in terms of like not messing with the balancing, at the end of the day, does it really matter if you mess with the balancing a lot right now or like right at the end when people, well, when we're so close to Street Fighter 6, people are gonna play Street Fighter 6 afterwards anyways, right? So even if they mess with the balancing, it might not be a big deal, and it's gonna add a lot of excitement on top of that. So maybe they're gonna add some fundamental changes to Street Fighter 5. I personally would love to see a cancel mechanic, for example. I think a cancel mechanic similar to Street Fighter 4 would be awesome, maybe without the focus attack portion. I think the focus attack itself was actually a bad idea, but FADC was fantastic. It was really a phenomenal gameplay element to Street Fighter 4, and I think FADC single-handedly sold Street Fighter 4 for a lot of players. It made gameplay really interesting, and hopefully we can see something similar like that, maybe in Street Fighter 6, but maybe as an experiment in Street Fighter 5 right now at the end of the life cycle of the game, right? So that would be interesting. So now let's talk about the balancing of Street Fighter 5 and the upcoming patch. How are they going to buff Ryu? Now, this is one of the most frequent questions that I currently get when I'm live streaming on Twitch, so let's talk about that a little bit. I recently made a tier list, by the way, in case you haven't seen it. You can watch it up here, click the link there, or just watch this picture right here, so you get some context what I'm about to say. So as you can see, Ryu is like lower mid-tier, something like that. The picture is horizontally organized as well, so from left to right, strongest to weakest. Ryu isn't particularly strong on this list, but he's also not bottom 5. I think a lot of people wrongfully put him in bottom 5. I think he has some stuff going for him, but it's not really good enough for him to be like a really viable option for tournaments. So how could you change that? Now, there are a lot of things that I have in mind where you could buff him. One area that I do like him getting a nerf, however, is his V-trigger. This is something where a lot of people will immediately be shocked when I suggest a nerf. I'm not really suggesting a nerf because I think Ryu is particularly strong. Obviously, I'm not. I just showed you I don't think he's a really good character, but I think his V-trigger 1 is not really in line with what Ryu is supposed to do. Ryu is supposed to be a more defensive character. His V-trigger 1 is specifically one of the more recent patches where they buffed Ryu's V-trigger activation so it doesn't cost V-gauge to throw a fireball. That one in particular made his V-trigger 1 a bit too strong. It made Ryu into a really aggressive character, and that's not really what Ryu's supposed to do. So honestly, I'd like to see that change reverted. But if you're gonna make Ryu weaker when it comes to the V-trigger, then you gotta give him something else, right? So where could you buff Ryu? His normals are pretty disappointing. I think a lot of people agree on that. One thing that I disagree usually is giving Ryu one normal that just dominates and is useful for everything. Some people suggest the back hard kick of Ryu, for example, to be +2, which is ridiculous. I can't stress this enough. People keep suggesting changes to Ryu's normals that would basically take away any reason to use some of the other normals, and this is what I really dislike. If you're gonna buff one normal and then you take away all other normals, the reason to exist for those normals, then it's not a good change. You're just making one normal way too strong. So yeah, don't give back hard kick +2 properties. You will never be using crouching medium punch as a frame trap tool afterwards because it's completely useless at that point. So yeah, I don't like that. What I do like, however, is maybe a buff when it comes to the range of crouching medium kick. It was buffed in the more recent patches. It was actually buffed, but I still think it's pretty bad. Ryu is supposed to have a pretty good crouching medium kick, and I don't think it's quite there yet. I don't like Ryu's sweep. I think Ryu has a really bad sweep considering he's a character that is supposed to play the footsie battle. This is something I'm a bit confused about, why he doesn't get a strong sweep or an okay sweep. One of the things that Ryu's supposed to do is play the footsie battle, bait out normals, whiff punish your opponent, and get an advantage like that. Why is his sweep 8 frames? It could be 7 frames, just like Guile, for example. Guile, and Daigo has shown this really effectively, you can whiff punish really well with 7-frame normals. And I would like to see that with Ryu as well. It would make playing the footsie battle a little bit more rewarding for him. Now, there's one change that I really love when someone, I don't even know who suggested it at this point, but shoutouts to whoever said it on Twitch. Back hard kick of Ryu. Make the second hit an overhead, but only if the first hit whiffs. The idea is, if you use the back hard kick mid-screen, only the second hit will connect, right? It would open up this weird gameplay for Ryu where the opponent can't just hold down back and, play like that comfortably. In a lot of cases, when I'm playing against certain characters like Karen, for example, who has a really dominating footsie game compared to Ryu, Ryu doesn't have anything to get Karen scared of anything, right? Crouching medium kick of Ryu, as I said, is not strong enough. It's just somewhat weak. You can't really play the footsie battle like that. But the back hard kick actually has really good range. And it's slow, so that's the risky part. It's slow, which is why I don't recommend it as a footsie tool. But if the second hit is an overhead, you get a mix-up. You can basically trick your opponent. You can make your opponent guess between the crouching medium kick as a low attack or the back hard kick as an overhead option. That would be very powerful, and at the same time, though, in line with Ryu's gameplay. Ryu is supposed to be a character that is a little bit more defensive. So the axe kick, the back hard kick, would be a footsie tool, right? And I really like that. You wouldn't gain a massive advantage. You can't just cancel into any special move and expect that to work consistently. It's a risk that you're taking. So I like that a lot. It would open up some more possibilities for Ryu. So yeah, those are my thoughts regarding the Ryu balancing and what I hope to see. So let's talk about some other stuff that is happening with the winter update. Dan obviously is we're gonna get more information on Dan, but at this point we actually have quite a lot of information about him. I'm more interested in what Capcom has to say about Rose, because they have specifically said there's gonna be new information about Rose. So I'm really curious about that, since I used to play Rose in Street Fighter 4 as a secondary character. I had her as a strong counterpick option. Some German players used to say that my Rose was actually stronger than my Ryu in Street Fighter 4. So yeah, it should be an interesting one. I really loved playing Rose in Street Fighter 4, so yeah, I hope to see a trailer. Maybe that's going to be a little bit too optimistic, but they could probably pull it off. Supposedly Rose is going to make it in spring of... right, spring. That's the official time frame for Rose, so that's not too far off, right? So maybe we're going to see a trailer. That would be awesome if we could actually see some gameplay. What is she going to look like in Street Fighter 5? That should be interesting. Regarding Dan, I'm not quite sure what to expect about Dan. Dan seems like a really fun character. He's always been a fun character, and I will definitely play him when the winter update, when the patch drops. So when is that going to happen? I'm expecting the patch to drop February 21st or 22nd. That will be right after the Capcom Cup finals. Like, it's not really Capcom Cup anymore, right? I think Capcom Season Final, that's what they called it, right? Not quite sure about it, but you know what I mean. There's going to be an event, and I expect the patch to drop right after that event. I think that's the most reasonable time frame to expect this patch to go live. Some people are suggesting it's going to be right after the winter update tomorrow, the announcement. I don't think so. It doesn't really make sense to put out the patch right now and then a week later have people who qualified for Capcom Cup play characters, like completely different versions of characters that they qualified in or qualified for. I think that really doesn't make any sense. So I'm expecting the patch to drop right after this finals event thing. So yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are regarding this winter update. What are you expecting from Dan, from Rose, from the new balancing, the new mechanic that is going to drop? What do you want Capcom to do with Ryu? Any and all thoughts in the comments below. Remember, like, this is potentially the last big patch that we're going to get before Street Fighter 6 drops. I mean, there's going to be supposedly, according to the roadmap, we're going to see another balance patch before Street Fighter 6 or before whatever happens after Street Fighter 5, but this is like the biggest patch for sure before the next generation, because this is the last time we're going to get a new battle mechanic. So yeah, what are your thoughts around that? What are your expectations? Do you think Street Fighter 5 is in a good place? Any and all thoughts, as always, down below. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Join me tomorrow on Twitch. As I said, I'm going to be streaming the winter update live as an official co-streamer, so definitely do not miss out. So guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.